Hello and welcome to Happy Cells and Souls. My name is Julie Powers and I'm a licensed Zumba instructor and a business partner with the Juice Plus company. My missions in life are to help people understand that life is better when they're dancing through it and to inspire healthy living around the world. But my expanded mission is to create better health at the cellular level and more joy at the cellular level. We only get one body while we're here on earth and we better take care of it, right? And while we're here, we're supposed to live lives full of joy and laughter and love and light and bring happiness into the world and to other people. And that brings us to these conversations. And I've had the joy and honor of meeting so many people from all walks of life during my time here on earth. And I find that the more that we can keep our minds and hearts open, we can learn literally from every single person. And it doesn't matter if we share the same backgrounds, if we share the same views or beliefs, because we can learn from everyone. And today I'm excited to learn from Michelle Bass. And Michelle is just this wonderful woman who I got to meet several years ago, quite a few years ago now, as part of a group where we're all working together for personal change and to become the best versions of ourselves. And in that, we are each learning how to find our personal goal, for lack of a better term right now, but just to say, where do we want to go in life and how are we going to get there? And Michelle, you found a way to not just work during your normal day job as a tax resolution person, doing things by the numbers and helping people work out their IRS issues, but really you found something interesting in audiobook narration. And I would love for you to share your story because I love audiobooks, because I'm like probably a lot of other people these days that you don't really have time to sit down and open a book or open your Kindle or whatever and read a book. For me, if I start reading a book, I'm going to fall asleep. And so I would rather listen to an audiobook while I'm doing other things like walking or doing the dishes or cooking dinner or whatever. So tell us your story. I'm so excited to share that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pure honor to be here. So yes, I've had my job for a while and I just was looking for something fun to do that fits my personality. And I'm a little bit more of an introvert. And so I've always been huge in like a movie buff and, love audiobooks in the same way. It's tough for me to just sit down and read, to take that time because multitasking is so ingrained in my head. So, but I found this new app a year ago to me called Tik Tok. And so I was just scrolling and peripherally, what do I want to do with my life? And I found this little video that somebody mentioned about audiobooks. And in my head, I always thought that was always contained within a huge publishing house company, that they had their own narrators, which they do. So I always thought it was outside the realm. And so it intrigued me. So they gave this website, ACX. And so I just started investigating and looking into it. And there's a ton of information out there to help you decide if this even fits. So I took the first couple of months just investigating and reading aloud to see if that fits me, fits my voice, if I could do it. And I really enjoyed it. And I find myself, especially in fiction books, when I read aloud, I myself get lost in the story. And that's so fun to be able to do that. So I just jumped in and started figuring it out. And this was about this time last year, by July, I decided, got my equipment, my husband was great and made me a recording little box that we put in our walk-in closet. And I just started to
Now, when
upload.
you say a recording little box, you mean like for people, they're thinking of like the movies where somebody's in a recording studio and they've got the mic and they got the headphones.
Yeah.
And they have that little foamy stuff that's like
Yes.
a shipping box that you're protecting different things. And that's what
Yeah.
you're talking about, right?
So it's like half that. We have a walk-in closet, and as you walk into the back, there was this shelf. So to isolate the mic, my husband actually built this box that we put on top of the shelf where the mic goes in, and I kind of lean in a little bit with
Very
my
good.
head, but it is all foam and everything. And the process of even that, because there's so much noise you don't really realize until you record and you try to get that right sound. There's a lot of what they call ambient noise. And so we've had to tweak it a little bit. I was very, very fortunate in the process of learning all of this. You can be scared away. I've talked to other people that have looked into it that are like, that's too much for me. But for me personally, the technical stuff was the most challenging. And there were many days and nights of frustration of trying to figure out this new language, basically, on how to edit and what do you mean decibel and, equalizing and what. And so it took me a while, but I stuck with it because I found that I really enjoyed it. And it was a challenge I was willing to master. And so I was fortunate enough that my son's friend is a recording engineer. So he came over and showed me there's a lot of online help out there. And he helped show me and created what I call an effects rack. My voice tends to be very soft normally. And so after I record, I have this effects rack that I just add on to the recording. So I don't have to individually every time change the knobs, change all of this. It's just set.
Mm-hmm.
So that started in July, got that running, and I uploaded some samples, and I had an author from England contact me and wanted me to narrate his books. He's an established author in England, had written like 40 books and just decided he wanted to put them on audio. And he heard my voice and was like, "You're going to be perfect." And I'm like, okay. So it was great. And it was such an honor to be able to do those first books. I was so blessed with this first author. He was so easygoing, so easy to work with. And it was a great learning experience. So I did 3 of his books. And then since then I've done.
I find that fascinating because you said he's from England and yet he wanted someone with an American accent
Yes.
to speak his books into existence. And so I think that's amazing. Yes.
Yes. And it was an incredible challenge as well, because they say, unless you have acting background, maybe stay away from fiction at first. And his was fiction. And I thought, all right, let's jump into this. Let's just do it.
Jump into the deep end, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And it was on so many levels, it was so great because his books they're based in England, but they took you all over Europe. And so a lot of the words he used, I had no idea. And the funniest part is the food. He would go to these restaurants and they would order all this food. And I'm like, what is that? I'm not a foodie.
So how did you find out how to pronounce it the way that he wanted you to pronounce it? Did you have to contact the author directly?
No. And some authors could be that way, I'm thinking, but no, Google is an amazing thing. And so
Google is our friend.
it is our friend. And so I literally would say, how do you pronounce? And then do the word. And then Google will actually on so many words give you the pronunciation right there. Mm-hmm. Other times it would be on YouTube. The hardest one I did was his second book. It was about a woman who would go into these comas, but be transported as a Jewish girl back in the Holocaust. So then the story started going around her surviving the Holocaust and, in Poland. And so there's a lot of German words, which are, not easy to pronounce. Yes. A little harder to pronounce. And so there was.
You got to get that phlegm in your throat. So
yes. And let alone, what is he saying? So again, I was very fortunate. My son took German in high school and he helped me with some pronunciations, but there was some times that I'm like, what? And then I would listen to it and it'd be like, what? I don't understand what you're saying or how you say that. So yeah, there's been a lot of challenges, but he was great to work with. And just the the learning curve of putting the audiobook together in production. After you narrate it, you produce it, you edit it, take out these ambient noises, and configure the flow so you don't have long breaks in between. You shorten those up, and then the company itself has some parameters that you need to follow for it to be an actual audiobook. So there's requirements on that side that took some adjusting. So
Right.
yeah, it's
What
been
it sounds
amazing.
like, it sounds like it was absolutely meant to be,
Yeah.
because you just happened upon this little clip on
Mhm.
TikTok, which is something that you weren't really that familiar with at the time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Your son's friend is a recording engineer, and then the first book you do, you need German, or second or third book, you need German pronunciation, and you have someone that is right
Yeah.
there, knows how to do it. And so I know that before we turned on the recording, you were talking about how what you really like about this is being able to make it about the author's story, and finding that you're putting yourself aside and bringing their story to life. But in doing so, you have found how much you enjoy that,
Oh
and
yeah.
that you weren't afraid to go after something that sounded interesting, intriguing. It kind of sparked this something inside you. And I think a lot of people that I've talked to during these Zoom calls over the last couple of years, is that that's kind of this ongoing theme, is that when you feel like something's really talking to you, to your heart, that you need to go after it, and you need to see, is this really talking to my heart, or am I just making this up? But it sounds like you weren't afraid to do that, and you made it happen. And now you have bigger goals for it, sort of becoming eventually a full-time,
Mhm.
career, and not being an employee anymore, and
Right.
kind of taking that over. So we have like 7 minutes left or something, so
Okay.
tell us a little bit about that, and where else you see this going, and not just the audiobook narration, but you've talked about some other things that you might be able to do with it. um,
Mhm.
you know just tell us all about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So um a lot of us can go into any sort of project and make it about ourselves, and oh my gosh, how do I sound? And I had this little moment of, the second author that I worked with was very specific, very hands-on, and it was a new experience for me. And I just really questioned, am I going to be able to do this? And a friend told me, it's not about you, it's about them. And when I made that switch in my thought process, my heart just opened up, and it was so easy to go, this is how this author wants to help other people. The fourth book I did was a Christian help book, very biblical based or whatever, but she wants to help other people and wants it very conversational. So when I made that switch about making it about her, it became so much more enjoyable for me. I was able to do what she wanted. And then this third book, or excuse me, the fifth book that I just finished was a book on poems. And it was such an honor to take somebody's art. And that's what these are. These are newer authors. And this is their art. This is something that is near and dear to them, but to take it to a place that makes them feel their art is being out there and shown to the world. So it has been so rewarding to do that. And when I think the reason why I didn't falter in taking this on is because it spoke to me, but it wasn't scary because I enjoyed it. And I had been an employee in the working field prior to the tax resolution. I was in the financial field for 30 years, and I always felt stuck. And as I got older, we don't have to feel stuck. And that's just it, just by taking steps and going out and trying. And that's what I did initially. I just read aloud to say, is this something that I even can do, that I would enjoy reading something aloud? And I found I did. So I would take the next step. And even when I ran into some walls with the technology, it became more of a challenge. And once I accomplished that, the reward inside was amazing. So yeah, just taking steps and finding that whatever speaks to you, try it. It may not be, because I had done that before with another industry as a side business, and I found it wasn't for me. It didn't fit my personality, but how I grew in that industry was phenomenal. The people I met was phenomenal, and that allowed me to not be afraid to do what I'm doing now.
Right.
And so my plans in the future. So right now I'm on this doing audiobooks specifically, but I want to do more voiceover work. And there's quite a few other sites out there that right now I audition for books. This site, you put up your videos, your samples, and people come to you. And these could be for doing a answering recording for a business, doing their
Like the on hold,
presentation.
or
Yes,
if you want to talk to so and so,
exactly,
do.
exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yes, and for realtors to narrate a online showing, when they show the house. And there's so many things out there because of social media, because of the technology. There's so many things that you can do besides just narrating. So that's my next step,
Right.
that's where I'm going.
Well, I think that's really great because you said just keep taking steps, because that's what we
Mhm.
need to do, and in all phases of our life, in every
That's
aspect of our lives. If we just sit on the couch and start staring into space because we give up, we're done. You might as well just
absolutely.
hang it up, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we're not living and growing and moving to the next step, then
Mhm.
we're not doing anything with our lives. And so even if we make mistakes,
Yes.
we're still moving forward and we can
Mhm.
learn from those. And I think that what you said about, bringing somebody's art to life,
Mm.
I when I listen to audiobooks, I mostly listen to nonfiction, kind of books. And I love it when it's the author speaking, because it's those words that I'm hearing their heart, I'm
Mhm.
hearing their soul. But even if it is not the author, and I have heard some recently that I thought the audiobook narrator was so fantastic, and I can't wait to hear some of your things. Um, but it really does kind of take the right person. And so when people are listening to your voice, they're hearing what you have to offer. And you're right, it's not about you, it's about what they want to say. And is your voice going to be the right voice to say it? And so
Right.
I think having that really healthy view of, maybe my voice isn't the right one for this.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's okay, because the one that you do end up doing, you will absolutely be the right one for that. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I had an author tell me. I had auditioned on a Sunday, and Monday they made the author offer, and the author was saying, "We just think your voice would be perfect for this." And that was the poems.
right,
And like I said before, I know going into this, my voice isn't going to be for everyone. Just as I listen to audiobooks, some resonate with me and some don't. And that's okay, because there's a ton of authors out there. The way this is set up now is, it used to be you had to have the publishing company accept your manuscript. You can self-publish. And that's what so many of these authors are doing, is self-publishing their art. And I think this last book I did with the book of poems, it was his wife, and they want to get these beautiful poems out there, and I'm honored to be able to do that. So, and that has been just phenomenal. And it makes the hard work that goes into it. I'm not going to lie, it's not easy. It's time consuming. It can be very time consuming.
right. Because you
um,
said that 1 hour of finished work earlier today, is like 6 or 7 hours of
Absolutely, a
real time
production.
that you
Mhm.
have to do, from the recording, the prep, the recording, the
Mhm.
editing, the post production, to make sure that all the sound is equalized, the ambient noises
Exactly.
removed, and everything flows. So it's not just like you can just get a microphone and record it and bam. Not like these videos that I do. It's like, turn on the recording, we talk, I turn it off, and I throw it up there and hope that somebody sees it and they find interest in it. But
Yeah,
but it is time consuming, and you have been able to do that because you enjoy it. And I think that's
exactly.
really the theme
Mhm.
is, if it's something you enjoy, keep doing it. If
Right.
it's something too that helps bring more light and love into the world, great, because that's what you're doing. You're absolutely bringing more art into the world. And I love what you talked about, the self-publishing, because a lot of times people tend to complain. They tend to, sort of make fun of, or, just they're always criticizing other people's work.
Mhm.
But those are the players on the field. They're actually doing the work. The people that are complaining are the ones who just bought the ticket and they're sitting in the stands, right? So
Absolutely.
if you have, whether or not you were contracted to write a book through a publishing house, or you self-publish, you're actually doing the work. And so
Absolutely.
you're doing the work of, a lot of work for time that it takes to bring somebody else's work to light.
Mhm.
And anybody who wants to complain about it, tell them to go get themselves themselves a recording studio and do it themselves.
That's it. I mean, you can hire out post-production. You can record and take your work to a recording studio and have them do it, but that is going to eat into your profits as well
Right,
because you have to pay them.
right,
So if you can, and that's my goal, is to become a not only very well narrator, accomplished narrator, but an accomplished editor and producer, and possibly even help other people edit their content, whether that's podcasts, whether that's audiobooks, whatever that means. Because I have a friend who is also doing this, whose husband is a editor, and so she just records. She doesn't know the technical side at all, but that's part of the whole package. That's what I
right.
love. I love doing it both.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story. We are at the end here, but if somebody wants to contact you, they're going to email you at mountainvoiceover777@gmail.com.
Yes.
And if somebody watching this is looking for some talent to do an audiobook or some other type of recording, Michelle might be the right voice. Who knows?
That's right.
You have any last words?
Thank you. I'm honored to be on here. I appreciate it. And I enjoyed this so much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Michelle.